Hello, my friends. I'm Nick Lowry, host of the Comeback Journey podcast. For my entire life, I was trapped in a cycle of unhealthy relationships. Family, friends, lovers, all of it. Couple that with almost a decade of active drug and alcohol addiction, and that makes for quite a toxic combination. A few years ago, I decided to look inward, and what I found was that by healing, growing, and improving the relationship I have with myself, I was able to improve every other relationship in my life. It all started with me. My mission with this podcast is to empower you to cultivate healthy relationships, both with yourself and others, so you can experience a more meaningful and satisfying life. All right, my friends, welcome back to the Comeback Journey podcast. Got my good friend Brandon here with me. We've been waiting for this for quite a while. We've talking since like last year, and different phases of life. It doesn't always align, but this time it did, and I'm very excited to be doing this podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is I told you before, but this is my first official podcast, so
Let's go.
Yeah, definitely grateful and just honored to be here, and excited to see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So anybody listening, my dog's freaking out, so if you hear a little whining in the background, it's okay. All right, so let's dive in. So let's get the listeners like a little idea of like who you are. So like, where did you grow up? Do you have any siblings? Like things like that. Like just a little brief overview.
Yeah. So I was born in Chicago in '92, and I mean, just to get straight into it, when I was a year old, both my mom and dad were both alcoholics at the time and substance abusers. Basically, when I was a year old, my dad left first, and then shortly after, I was basically taken from my mom and put into the system, and for the first year, I lived with my Uncle Jack. And then at a certain point, he felt he had to make the decision to change that. And so then I was in foster homes until I was about 5. And my mom, shortly after I got taken away, became sober and has been sober now for over 25 years. So thank you, Mom. God bless you. I love you.
That's amazing.
Definitely one of my biggest inspirations. Just that, journey that she's been on alone. And so she got me back when I was 5, and then we moved to California. So I've lived in San Diego almost my whole life, really, other than those first 5 years. But I have one sister who is 18 years older than me, so we're kind of both like only children in our own way, because we never lived together. And she was 18 and then moved to California right when I was born. So yeah, I kind of feel like I'm an only child.
Yeah,
and
is she still in California?
Yeah, she lives in like Claremont now.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Did you guys do you talk now that you're like an adult and that's a big age gap, so it's like
sure.
I feel like it would be hard to navigate that dynamic.
I think that, just to be completely transparent, I think that based on all the things that happened in her life that I don't know about, and what she went through before I was even born with my mom, because my mom had been on the path that she was on before I was even born. Me and my sister, to be completely honest, I wouldn't say we're very close. I love her unconditionally and always will, but we haven't really taken the opportunity to, I think, reconnect on a deeper level. And I think that sometimes we have taken a few opportunities and had like deeper discussions and had like heartfelt moments, but we always tend to come to like just not being on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think that because we're similar, we're both kind of like stubborn in our own way. I think we're very similar, but I think we trigger each other. And I also think that based on the way that I've seen things pan out the past couple of years and my relationship with my mom, and what I see in a relationship with my sister and my mom, and then me and my sister, what I feel is that uh, that there's some resentment or some unhealed wounds that I think are kind of in the middle of us becoming closer. Because me and my mom talked about this before. Because when you take a step back from all three of us, in my sister's eyes, my mom never changed her ways for her, and then she moved across the country. But then when I was taken away, it was like a like all or nothing. Like, you know what I mean? If she doesn't stop, she's not getting her kid back. So she did what she had to do, and I think that that plays a role in our unhealed tension or whatever you would call it. But I do hope that someday that, you know what I mean, that we're able to just tell each other whatever it is that, you know what I mean, we haven't spoken about, and just reconnect on a deeper level, because that's something I think about often, is that it does kind of suck, because I feel like I have a sister, but I don't really know her. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think she knows me either. I think a lot of people, well, just in general, think they know other people, but unless you really like get to talk to someone in deeper moments, that's all kind of just perception and assumption.
Yeah, well, that's that's kind of how I feel right now, because we've known each other for a long time, but I didn't even know you had a sister.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
So like, this is it's cool because like we're friends, but like we were, when we were like a little closer, it was like a different phase of life.
Yeah.
When neither of us were really like diving deep internally at the time. So it's like, I think the last time I saw you was when we had ran into each other at DC Rocks up there, and like you gave me your mixtape, and you were like, "Oh," I was like, "Let's go," But but that was
years ago,
probably 2017. Like, I know I was sober at the time, but I don't think I had been sober very long.
What's funny is I think I remember you telling me that you had been sober for like, it had been like not a crazy amount of time, but it was like you were like hyped, and you told me like, I forget exactly how much time, but I think you're like a month or something like that.
Yeah,
so like, where you had like kind of just started that. So that's
that's crazy. It's been years, and like we see each other on social media, but like this is different. So like it's I'm excited for it. I feel like it'll be a learning experience for both.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you moved to San Diego when you were 5, with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever spoken to your dad?
So no, my dad left when I was 13 months old, like right after I turned a year old, and that's the last I heard from him ever. I never got a card. I never got a call. Never wrote. You know what I mean? I had no contact with him ever. And then I was like about 10. I don't remember exactly. I think I was 10. I asked my mom for like the first time, like, do you have a way I can like contact my dad? You know what I mean? Like, I want to see him. Right. I want to talk to him, and like, you know what I mean? And so she called some people and called one of his friends, and basically he broke the news to her that he had died like 2 months before that. And I believe he died like he was under I'm trying to blank at the word to use. He was drunk and you know what I mean, had been on drugs, and I believe that he basically died from falling and like hitting his head on a curb or something like that. But I still actually don't know like the details. Kind of just what was relayed to my mom from a friend to me.
Right.
So my dad, nope. I have one picture of him, which is pretty crazy too, because it's like there's only one, and yeah, it's just a trip. He doesn't look like me, but
man, that's heavy. Like I have my own issues with my dad because he left, but not in that drastic of a way. My parents divorced when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and then my dad kind of hopped around out here for a little bit and then moved back to Illinois where he's from, and I maybe saw him once from like 8th grade until I grad like my senior year of high school, and so like I have my own issues surrounding that. But
are you from Illinois too?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say, that's
Yeah,
weird.
so I was
Illinois.
born at Alvarado Hospital
Okay.
in here on the Mesa, but
Nice.
both my parents are from Illinois.
Okay.
And so my dad, well, you're from Chicago. I don't know how much you know about Illinois, but like my mom's from Decatur, which is like middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Soybean factories and
I've heard my family talk about this. Some of my family lived in Lake in the Hills, Huntley, Oak Park.
Oak Park is like
that's
that's a little outside of Chicago, right?
Yeah, Oak Park I think is where my family, like some of my family grew up. Because actually my whole family used to live in Illinois.
Okay.
And then slowly over time, people started moving to San Diego, and now nobody lives in Illinois. Everybody lives in San Diego, and then a couple people live in Florida.
Okay.
But mostly, yeah, San Diego.
Yeah, I did live. So my dad's from Champaign-Urbana, which is like where the University of Illinois is. And I lived out there for a little bit, like end of 2015 into like a few months into 2016. Not my thing, bro. It's cold.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, I like the cold, but for too long, I'm more of a, I need that golden sunlight. Like,
yeah,
that's one of my favorite things in life. The sunsets and the beach, like just going in the water is just like such a healing experience for me, and also just so much fun. And every time, even when I go alone, I just end up start laughing, like playing with the waves, and it's just like I feel like a kid. So it's like,
I literally did that exact thing yesterday. Like I went to the beach by myself, and like I brought a book. I was reading for a little bit, and then I got in the water and was just like swimming around, like splashing in the waves, and like it's a beautiful thing. You know, I've always loved the beach, but I didn't like fully appreciate it until I moved to Arizona, and now I'm like, I really miss the ocean.
Yeah.
You know,
I can imagine.
Yeah. So
it's
taking a toll.
I lived in Arizona for 1 year, just my first year of college, in Flagstaff. Flagstaff. It was such a beautiful place. It had like one of the most fun years of my life, and actually that year is when I decided to pursue music and take music seriously, and then that's when I moved back to California. But the weather there was like, you know what I mean, super below like negative degrees, and then the other half of the year would be like hot and humid, so like it kind of wasn't, I don't think it was a full Arizona experience of like living in Phoenix or something. But
yeah, Flagstaff's like its own little world up there, but it's a cool place. But sure. Phoenix, like I was saying like before, like it's about to be 117 next week, and it's only June. Like
I'm cool off that.
I'm not ready. Okay, so growing up in San Diego, you got one parent, and then moving to Arizona a little bit for college, and then back to California. What was it like during like these teenage, like high school years? Like how was that for you? And then moving away to college for a year and then coming back, like what was that transition like? Did you feel any different? Did you view the world differently at the time? Because that's like a weird time in life when you're like a teenager and then you hit 18 and then
I was clueless.
I
didn't know what the fuck was going on back then. Honestly, I didn't know what was going on with myself. I didn't know what was going on with the world. It's funny to even think about that. Like, damn, I was just living, just having fun. But yeah, I guess I should probably backtrack to like the foster care stuff, because I feel like some of my most traumatic, before I go into certain things about like, something just came up that I've never really spoken to many people about, but I'm going to share. But I don't feel like I should go into those yet without kind of giving a little more knowledge, like background on the first couple years of my life.
Okay.
So basically like the where I feel like most of my trauma and like cycles, unhealed things in my life come from is like there's two foster home experiences that different families that just I can't forget. You know what I mean? It's like I was only 4, but I'll never forget it, and I remember specific moments in my life that, you know what I mean, they'll never go away. One of the experiences with not the last foster family I was with, but the one right before that, my mom had been sober for I think over 2 years at that point. I don't know exactly how long, but 2 to 3 years. She was working super hard to try and get me back, and I had like a super super fluffy curly head of hair, kind of like I do now for the first time ever, not cutting my hair. And the family shaved my head bald, and when we went to court, it was like a hearing from my mom, and it was to, you know what I mean, just, I don't really know exactly what it was for, but to update the court with how she was doing, and like, you know what I mean, just try to get me back, and whatever that situation was. And I don't remember this at all, but my mom told me like years later that the family basically convinced me to say in court that my mom like sexually abused me, and she didn't. And I was 3 years old and probably scared as shit from whatever these people were doing, and so I said it in court, and so that was like a huge, you know what I mean, a huge setback for my mom, and just in us being reunited. And so that's just kind of something that I've thought about a lot. But the one that like I remember was the last foster home I was in. The best way to describe it is, I lived with a family that I feel, based on the racism that was going on in the world at the time, projected that onto me, like, in a way. I can't necessarily say that they were racist, but when I think about things now, I look back and like the way the world was, and the way that, I mean, even if you just look at history, the way that a lot of Black people have been treated, and there's obviously tension in those areas, and it's still, you see it now, it's still coming to the light, you know what I mean? And so basically I lived with a family that like tortured me. And I don't mean torture like cut me up or things like that, but just certain things, I guess I can just name off. Like I lived in a room that didn't have anything in the room other than, definitely gonna cry during this podcast. I already feel it coming. I lived in a room that didn't have anything in it. There wasn't a bed, there wasn't a pillow, there wasn't a blanket, there was nothing in the room other than a red Fisher-Price fire truck. And that was just like one of the things. The one window that was in the room, like I remember I had finally made like a friend outside, you know what I mean, outside of the toxic environment I was in, and there was a window right across from my window, and I used to talk to a kid. And then when the foster parents found out, the foster mom, like the main lady of the house, her name was Sue, and she had 2 daughters, and she nailed the window shut when she found out that I was talking to that kid, and just different things. She made me eat spinach. I can't say every meal, but every day, and every time I ate it, I threw it up, and I hated it, and I didn't want to eat it. So I was forced to eat that daily. I was forced to sit with her and watch all of the Halloween movies, like the ones that had come out. And so I was like deathly afraid of Michael Myers, so I was like 15 years old. And her and her daughters physically abused me, mentally abused me, emotionally abused me, and my mom would pick me up and I would have like bruises all over me, and like they would abuse me enough to not get in trouble for it, but like, you know what I mean, to leave whatever impact they were intending to leave. And when I think about it now, I even try to look back and think like forgiveness for them, and even gratitude, because had I not gone through those experiences, I wouldn't be who I am now. And it's like, that's why I brought up the race thing, because it was a Black family, and based on the way that the world is, and based on how things were even worse back then, and I feel like I got the rebuttal of the way that you know what I mean, the world is treating these people, and so they took it out on me. as like this, you know what I mean? This just little person that they could do whatever they wanted to. And it's basically, the more I think about it now, it's like they obviously didn't love me. They were just doing it to have a check. And one of the moments when I realized like how serious my memories were was when I talked to my mom a couple years ago, and she told me that the only time she ever got to go into the house, she wasn't allowed to see my room, but she like peeked into another room, and I didn't even know they had another foster kid. But there was a baby tied to a crib with its leg laying in its own throw up in its own shit. And like that was the moment that I feel like that I just realized, you know what I mean? That like I've basically been tortured like to an extent. And and um that's something that I can't ever forget, you know what I mean? And I have flashbacks to those memories sometimes, and luckily my mom did what she needed to do and save my life, you know what I mean? Because I don't think I would have lasted long in that type of environment. So yeah, that's that's the like one of the, to me, I mentioned this earlier to you before we started the podcast, and I think that reflection of love that I saw as a child, whether it be from not knowing why, but my parents leaving, my family leaving, anyone that I loved or that I thought loved me when I was a kid abandoning me in my eyes back then, you know what I mean? And so that has been the reflection of love that I've given like my whole life to partners, to whether it be intimate relationships, friendships, family. Whenever someone showed up in my life and loved me more than the toxic conditional love that I had experienced, I sabotaged it. I pushed them away. I hurt them. I hurt myself. I was a fucked up person, and to a lot of people. And I see now how I projected that reflection of love into everything, into my whole life, and that's been a huge lesson for me. And when looking at myself, and when you know what I mean, analyzing and observing my own patterns, my own cycles, and the way I think and the way I do things, it's something that I'm much more aware of now. And I think that I've learned in a lot of ways to love everything unconditionally, because regardless of how painful it is, or regardless of how much it hurts, the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, is in my experience very true. And so that's kind of the background information of my like first couple years of life. When moving on to what you talked about, like kind of like middle school years ish, going into high school, I definitely like hadn't dealt with my emotions. Like I didn't, if anything, I pretended like I wasn't mad, and I wasn't hurt that my dad left, and you know what I mean? I blocked all those things out, and they came out in my behaviors and the way I treated people, and I didn't follow directions, and I just rebelled, and had some anger management issues in that sense. You know what I mean? I released all that in an unhealthy way. I hadn't learned how to channel that into something that I could learn from and grow from, which now for me is music. And so I don't remember if it was 6th grade or 7th grade, but yeah, I wasn't very nice to my mom when I was younger. Like, I wasn't nice at all. I was mean, and I feel like that was me at a young age, still angry with what I had experienced. You know what I mean? And didn't know, just didn't know how to express it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going from these early childhood years into, like, if that's your base understanding of life, I would imagine it would be extremely difficult to navigate any sort of normality.
Yeah. And so I actually went to an inpatient or an outpatient mental hospital. My mom, we've talked about it since, and something that she didn't know how to handle me. I was like a pretty big, kid for my age, and didn't listen. I just didn't listen, and nobody could tell me to listen, other than like my Uncle Bruce, who was just scary, and that was the person that got called to come over and just like put me in check. Put me in check. And so I don't remember exactly what happened, but like I was having some type of outburst. I don't even know what to call it, whatever. Just acting up, and I went into like a street. There was like a middle divider, and like I can tell you right now, like I would never take my own life. I love life way too much to ever do that. But I could see how maybe at that time my mom would have no idea, and so basically I went out to the middle of a divider. It was actually on Mission Gorge Road. And went to like a middle divider thing, and I was like, all I was doing was hitting a sign with a newspaper. Like I wasn't that crazy, you know what I mean? And but in my mom's eyes, like I was trying to hurt myself. And so she put me into this, at first it was an outpatient thing, like for a little bit, basically like it's called Mesa Vista. It's like a mental hospital.
Yeah, I know it is.
And I don't even know if mental hospital is the right word, so like no offense if that's not to anyone who's hearing this. But and I think if anything, that like
push you in the opposite direction.
Yeah. It's something that I realized a couple years ago was extremely traumatic for me, especially being a kid that just didn't know how to express his feelings and had no safe space to share that with, you know what I mean? And release those things that I was holding inside me, and I didn't know that's what I was supposed to do. And so that was a pretty traumatic experience, because like I think it was in 6th grade. I remember having to leave school for like a month, and like nobody knew where I was going, and like came back and like had to kind of lie to all my friends, because what I was going to do in 6th grade, tell everyone I went to a mental hospital.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like just another part of like this, just the middle school years that I think I think it just kind of added to what I already had built up, and then made me confused about my own thoughts and my own self, and like, am I crazy? And you know what I mean? Just all the things that probably go with that experience.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, what about after that?
Yeah, that's a heavy, first 11, 12 years of life.
Yeah.
And
that was like right 10 years old. It was like right when I found out that my dad died too. So it was like that on top of all those things. And yeah.
So it seems to me that you would have been, you know, because like my perception of you, I mean, like I didn't know you prior to high school, and like even in high school we didn't really know each other, but like you always seemed like a very outgoing person. You know, you were, it seemed to me like very extroverted, and you know, you had all these friends and all that, but like, you know, after hearing this, it seems to me like it would have been difficult for you, like, you know, hiding aspects of yourself while also trying to make all these other connections.
Yeah.
Is that accurate in any way?
I mean, I think that thinking about that question, like, I think subconsciously, I probably, if anything, try to do more, like try to be extra for that reason. Like I can't say it was like a thought that I was thinking like I'm gonna do this for these reasons, but like now thinking about it subconsciously, like yeah, I think you know what I mean? I liked being the center of attention, and I liked I don't know, I just liked the attention, and I liked it probably for that reason. Like I was trying to make up for whatever I couldn't face when I was alone.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't alone very often, you know what I mean?
Right.
And filled my time with all the things you do in high school.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that before.
Yeah, I mean, it's, at least for me, I'm like super introverted most of the time. Like if I'm with the right people, I'm very extroverted, but like generally I'm introverted. And even, you know, in high school, like I went to Catholic school for 8 years, and then I like transferred late to Patrick Henry, like 2 or 3 months late my freshman year, and I didn't know a single person at the school except for my older brother, and we didn't get along at the time. So like I walk into class like my first day in like October, like school's already been going, and I'm just like this random kid that walks in. I didn't know anybody. It was like there were like people smoking cigarettes in the hallways, and like it was like wild to me, you know, because at Catholic school, like we couldn't even like, if you want to like date somebody with it, like you couldn't even hold hands. Like you had to wear a uniform. You can't wear ankle socks because it's showing too much skin. Like it was such a shift, you know, and like culture shock. Like I was like, what is going on, you know? And so I like isolated heavy. And you know, I've had, you know, my own experiences. Like at that time, like, you know, my dad had been gone for a little bit, and you know, just my mom trying to balance raising 3 kids by herself, like, and this house actually, we moved into this house when I was in 7th grade. We'd lived here for a couple months, and then we went on vacation to Illinois to visit family for 2 weeks, and we come back from vacation, and the main water pipe in the bathroom had burst while we were gone. And it was been spraying water full force for 5 days. This whole house was flooded.
Wow.
And like we had just moved in, and like my mom's on her own raising these kids, and then we got to balance and like stay at friends' houses, and like my uncle lives down the street, so we stayed there for a little bit. And rather than like me trying to like occupy my thoughts that I didn't want to deal with like other people, I just like went the other way, and I was like, I would read like fiction books and like fantasy novels and like escape that way. So it's just interesting to see, like, because I've never been like, unless I was under the influence, I was never like, I want to be the center of attention. And so it's just interesting, like, to see how people go different ways based on different experiences, you know?
It's funny because I am an introvert. Like, I love being alone. Like, I love people, and I love connecting with people and doing fun things with people, but I also love being alone because, I don't know, I just feel like that's where I go within, and you know what I mean? And that's where a lot of music comes from, and It's funny because then when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, when I'm around a group of people that I know and that I just like feel comfortable around, and I feel comfortable around everyone, but like, you know what I mean? There's
levels.
Yeah, it's like, because I also sometimes step into areas where I'm like, okay, I'm on a professional level, or oh, there's like a friendship level, or whatever the case may be. But I feel like I am an introvert, and that's why I write so much down. Like I write my feelings, and that's kind of how I cope with things, is like write everything down and in song form.
Right.
But at the same time, being a musician, being an artist has helped me step out of my comfort zone, and now I love being on stage, and like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, sometimes I'll get in front of a group of like smaller people, it's more intimate, and it nerves will come up because I'm used to performing in front of 800 people, or how, you know what I mean? Some huge crowd where I don't really have to look at anyone's eyes, and they're kind of far away, and I can just like have fun. But then it's like, you know what I mean? So like, I feel I'm an introvert, and then at the same time, like, I don't know, maybe it's, now that we're talking about from the past, maybe it's, like maybe I became an I can't even think of an extrovert. Maybe I became an extrovert. I guess I'm both. Now that I think about it, like I'm both. I like both. I guess I just go with the flow. Like sometimes I don't want to talk. Sometimes I'm like, nope. Right. And then sometimes I'm like, I want to talk to everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I think there's got to be some kind of like balance and fluidity in like the introvert extrovert space, because like I'm introverted, but if I'm by myself for like an extended period of time, it's going to take a toll on my mental health, my emotional health, you know. And this is something I experienced when I moved to Arizona, because like I don't know anybody out there, you know, and I live alone, and so I thought like it's great, like I love living alone, but like after a couple months of like only interacting with, you know, going to work for a few hours a day and then coming home and being by myself the whole time, like it took a toll. Because when I was in San Diego, I could, you know, be a hermit for 2 weeks and then like call my friend who lives 5 minutes away and like get my fix of like social interaction, you know. But like I can't do that now unless I want to like get out of my comfort zone and like meet new people, which like I don't really like to do, you know. So it's like it's just, you know, I don't think it's all one or all the other, you know. It's just
whatever balance each person has,
like somebody falls in that scale, you know. So it's interesting. So when did you discover, you know, lyricism and music and this hip hop rap lyricist persona? Not really a persona, but like when did you discover music and your love for it, or your initial attraction to it?
So I mean, I'd say like I've always loved music in general, and my uncle has been a musician for 40 years, so like it's always been in the family. And like whenever we'd go to like whatever, maybe Christmas or whatever holiday, like he would always show us his new song and like stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I think like naturally I just have always loved music, and music's like one of my biggest inspirations. Healing, like there's so many things that music does for me that I just always love music in general. And then in seventh grade, my uncle at Pershing was the jazz band teacher and the drumline teacher. So me and my cousin Easton, who was a year older than me, we both were in both of those together. So that's kind of where like the roots started almost. And I first started, like, I wrote poetry first, like, and that was just in middle school too, like maybe like 8th grade, I was writing poetry, and I actually wrote a poem about my dad that like got in the expressions thing and like published and all that. And like me and my best friend at the time, Abdullah, Shout out Abdullah. I haven't talked to my guy in like a decade. But we hosted the expressions thing, and like, I just think like that was when I kind of started getting my, okay, I like being in front of crowds kind of when I'm doing something that I'm like feel confident in doing. And I just enjoyed music at the time. And then I first started like writing, one of the first like raps I even wrote, like I first started writing raps. I'd say one of the first raps I wrote was with my brother and one of my best friends, Colin Copang. I forget how, but like we had somehow, this is like in the days of AOL, of AIM, AIM.
Oh, okay.
And so somehow, I don't know how, like we had each other's AIM, and then like we found out like in a conversation one day that we lived like 3 blocks away from each other, and we're like, oh, you're trying to meet at the Mission Trails Market? Like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And like, that's literally, we just like became best friends from there. But the first day we hung out, I think it was the first day, we like wrote a song and like to a beat. And I hadn't really done that as far as I can remember. I'm like, I don't remember before that writing to any beats or anything. So like we wrote a song, and then we wrote more songs. And in that era, like we had, oh my God, the timeline. I think the first like group that I was in was called Young Riders.
Okay.
And that was let me see, it was me, Nick Rhett, Colin Copang, Max Showman, Nexon Gualo, and Michael Green. and so we were called Young Riders.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we just kind of like messed around with music then, and then slowly like some people stopped doing it, and then the only people who were doing it like together still, I think as we like, and just to backtrack a little bit, me and Colin, like when we met, it was going into our freshman year. So I think we had seen each other a couple times at like basketball games, and like we played ball with each other before, but we didn't like ever hang out like that. So that was like, so basically going into 9th grade was when I first was like, okay, I'm writing a rap. And then over time, like the people in the Young Writers group like weren't all doing it anymore. So then me and Colin and Nick were just kind of doing it in high school. And just, you know what I mean, just having fun and making songs and like showing our friends. And at that time we were called the 3 Max, and had like a MySpace page, you know what I mean? Like just back in the day.
MySpace.
Yeah. And we almost performed at a pep rally. Oh no, that was actually in high school. Like I'm losing track of the timeline. Basically in high school we just kind of messed around with it, and you know what I mean, had fun and didn't take it like super seriously, and kind of were just having fun in all areas of life. And then I went to NAU for a year, for my first year of college in Flagstaff. Me, Colin, and Nick actually all went to the same college. They ended up staying and graduating. And that year was when I like realized basically what I did all year. Like I went to some classes, like I passed some of my classes, but like the ones I went to I passed, but I didn't go to a lot of my classes. And I honestly spent like the whole year writing songs, playing basketball for like 7 hours a day, and just like partying and having fun. To be completely honest.
Freshman college life.
Yeah, for sure. And so that year I'm like, what am I doing? Like I just, you know what I mean? Me and my mom both have like a partial, like a small loan out for me to be here. Like I don't even want to do biomedical sciences. Like what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? And my cousin Easton had already been in a group rapping and making music for a while, called Legal Hustle, and they were also called The League at the time. And he like would send me some stuff, and this was like kind of maybe toward the second half of the year. Like I hadn't really known in the first half what these things yet, but second half of the year, I was just spending more time writing and by myself and like writing songs, and I was just slowly seeing myself get better. And my cousin Easton would send me some songs, and I'm like, holy shit, like, you're fucking incredible. Like, it was like at the time, like, he should be famous now, like, and he was only a year older than me, like, and he was, and it's funny because he made like the most gangster hard rap, like the gangster, like, you know what I mean, just straight up gangster raps, like, and just talking about stuff that, like, I mean, I'm sure he did some of it, but like, you know what I mean,
Right.
not really what's going on, like,
Right.
but and so I noticed, like, I realized how good he was, and I was like, okay, this is my cousin, like, I could be this good too. Like, I know this person. This is, and because I literally was like, he's better than a lot of like famous artists, and this was way back then, you know what I mean? And so I knew that I could be too,
right,
if I worked enough to get there. And so, and at that time, like, I was asking, like, what are you doing? Are you putting it out somewhere? Like, this needs to be seen by the world. Like, I was like, you're so fucking talented. Like, we need to show this to the world. So all of those things full circle, that's like before the year was over, like, I realized that, like, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a fucking amazing artist and you know what I mean? Pursue being at that time, like, a rapper. I didn't know what I was going to turn into over time, but like, pursue music as a career. And it's like, okay, anything's possible. Why not? My cousin's this good. Why can't I get that good? I know I can, so I'm going to do it. And so moved back to California 2011, and kind of right when I came back, like, we made a song together, like, I made a song with the group, and I kind of, like, they invited me to join the league, which was like, it was like 5 or 6 people at the time, and we did some shows. Like, that was when I first opened for some major artists. I think our first show we opened for was like Currency and like People Under the Stairs, and like just started opening for some artists. And
People Under the Stairs, that's a throwback.
Yeah, I actually heard that I think Double K passed away. One of the 2 dudes in the group passed away like pretty recently, a couple months ago. So basically what was happening is I felt like I came into it with, like, well, just over time, I saw that I was doing a lot of work to help our group get to the next level, to do the things, you know what I mean, that I knew everyone was capable of. And over time, I just had to make the decision, like, actually, so over time, I don't know if me and my cousin just, like, decided we're just gonna do this, me and you now, or if it kind of just people fell off, like, and just didn't continue to do things. But at one point, like, I think I, like, sat my cousin down and was like, if you want to do this for real, like, I'm willing to do this with you, but I'm doing way too much work.
Like, overcompensating for the other people in the group?
Well, basically, yeah, like, everyone wanted to, and no offense to all y'all, I love you guys, but nobody wanted to do the work. Everybody wanted to show up to the show where we open for someone and be on stage the whole time and perform and do the songs that has 7 verses in it. And then, like, over a couple of shows like that, I'm just like, why am I doing all this work? Why am I doing, like, the majority of the work for the whole group? And I'm only receiving a little bit of time on stage. I only get to do, like, you know what I mean? It just didn't feel right. And so me and my cousin broke off as the league, just us 2. And from there, we did a lot of huge shows. We opened for, like, Lupe Fiasco, Ab Soul, Andre Nicotina, Hobson, Dizzy Wright, like, a ton of people. And then after some years, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was actually right after, the day after the Lupe Fiasco show, that we opened up at the Observatory with my homie Il Nicky, and the Ill Movement. And it was just like certain things happened that in that week, just, it was like, I have to do this. And it was like a moment where I realized I had to be a solo artist. And because it was like a very similar to the group thing. Like, I was doing the majority of the work and I was getting better too. And so I just, you know what I mean? I knew that for me to excel and evolve the way I needed to, I needed to be a solo artist. And so that's when I kind of like branched off as a solo artist. And I don't know, I feel like that's when, I mean, everything's been changing all the time, but like in a way, I feel like that's when everything changed in a lot of ways. And I like started stepping into me and who I want to be instead of like, because a lot of times, like even just making a song, like when I'm making a song, I'm putting my like soul into it, my heart, my, you know what I mean? My life. And so, of course, making songs that are like for the radio or for people to just have fun to, those are fun, but like, that's not, it just wasn't happening in a group, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, I wanted to have control over what my dream, you know what I mean? And so I took that. And probably one of the best decisions I ever made. Because since then I've just been able to evolve in just so many different ways, you know what I mean? And has brought me to where I am now. And my cousin still makes amazing music, and I still to this day think my cousin is one of the greatest artists on the planet. Like he's hands down one of the greatest producers I've ever heard in my life. Like the only person I would compare my cousin to is Kanye West, and like that's being genuine. And I'm critical when it comes to music because I make music, and it's
right.
Like he's extremely talented. It's dope because we've been through these phases of like, oh, he was so good, and then I we raise the bar for each other over time because one of us kind of surpasses our own how we used to be, and then it's like, oh shit, it's like motivation for each other, you know what I mean? So he's definitely been one of my biggest motivations in music since the beginning, because that was like
the initial light bulb went off and you were like, oh,
exactly.
Have you always been able to like follow that intuitive feeling, that feeling in your gut, like I need to make this change in order to, you know, actualize what, insert blank, like whatever, these decisions? Like, have you always been able to tap into that, or was that something that music brought out?
I think a little bit of both. Like it was there subtly, but like, because I've always just been like, I'm gonna do what like that stubbornness like I want, in a sense. And then over time I just trusted myself more, and you know what I mean, music definitely magnified that tenfold, and you know what I mean, it just helped me tap into that intuitiveness even more than, you know what I mean, just whatever was already there. So yeah, a little bit of both.
And then adding on to that, like, because you're very much like, over the last, at least from like my perception of like what I've seen, like how I've seen you grow and evolve, mainly just through social media and like occasional interactions that we've had. When did this journey of going inward to grow and to heal, like when did that start? Like when did you realize that, like, in order to become you know, your highest self, like when did you realize that you had to start doing this inner work? Was that
I would say that more recently, like in the past 5 years, honestly. I think that having a child, you know what I mean, when my daughter was brought into the world, that's when I think I really started like observing myself more and being like, what do I want in life, and you know what I mean, how am I going to show up, and
the dog.
Can you say the question one more time?
Yeah. At what point did you realize that you needed to like go inward, like do more of the inner work and tap into the spirituality aspect in order to become like the best version of you?
So I think like, I feel like it almost starts with like me awakening to what's happening in the world. And that was kind of like, I think, the catalyst that led me down the path of like, what the fuck's going on? Like, the first thing I ever, the thing that like was the click for me of like, okay, things aren't what they seem to be, was when I watched the movie Loose Change, or 9/11 Loose Change Final Cut. Like, basically the movie that's like showing a lot of evidence that like that the Twin Towers did not, you know what I mean? It was not what we were told. It was like a false flag thing. And then from there, I just like questioned everything and was like, what the fuck? And within a week of like this awakening, learned about Bohemian Grove and FEMA camps and all these other things. And literally the day I learned about it, happened to look online and like see that the only 2 days that they gather at Bohemian Grove was the day that I knew and the next day. And so out of nowhere, I took an 8-hour trip to San Francisco and like tried to like get into Bohemian Grove, and like
I remember you doing that.
And like went and visited a FEMA camp because this is a funny moment because I talk about this in my music, but I feel like part of me doesn't want to say too much for various reasons.
That's cool. Like whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah. I'm just thinking because I've never been in the moment where I'm like, oh shit, like I say this in my music and it's easy to say it that way, but like I think I just know that some of the topics and things that I could say are in a way like dangerous information, you know what I mean? And the people that saying them, you know what I mean? So basically I went there because I was like, I had a realization as to what I see happening in the world that's still happening now, and it's happening now more than ever. And I focused so much, like my first mixtape was The Revolution, and then like The System and The Mirror. And so most of these projects, like my first couple projects during that time, focused so much on what was happening in the world, all these like dark agendas and the evil that people don't know about, and you know what I mean, and these things that I felt like I didn't have this realization, and I don't know these things for no reason, and I meant to share them, you know what I mean? And I feel like doing that for so long, then I just had other realizations of like, okay, like now, like, of course I still want to talk about these things in my life, but like, okay, I want to be an artist. Like, I don't just want to talk about the shit going on in the world all the time. Like,
right.
And so I feel like when I really started going inward was like when I realized that and started focusing on like being the best version of me, in the sense of like, there's no train of thought.
It's hard to like formulate stuff on the spot sometimes. And
I usually speak in like symphonies too, so like I get lost and then I'll bring something full circle like 10 minutes later. So I realized, well, I guess I'll just say this. I guess I realized through that experience that that like the God and the devil, that we can I'm going straight off into it. But basically at that time I'm like, yes, these people are doing all these things, but like we're also just letting it happen and doing things to ourselves, and you know what I mean? And I guess through that whole experience, I realized that like we can move. I could go kill someone right now, or I could go save someone's life, or I could go do like the kindest deed ever. And we have the power to be devilish or be angelic, godly. You know what I mean? These two different sides of the spectrum. And I think I was kind of just done for a while. Like, okay, I've said so much shit about all these things, people and the things in the world that are happening and all these bad things going on, these evil things. I want to talk about some positive shit now. And like, that's kind of when I started, you know, doing affirmations and just where my music kind of took a turn of like, okay, like let me make some inspirational motivation music, like things to like bring people the opposite feeling of what I've already brought to the table.
Right.
And I think that was I think that is like the turning point in when I started going within, you know what I mean, on a deeper level, and just realizing that that it's all within me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's all within me. I like that. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I've been on this like self-discovery journey, not nearly as long, probably. Well, I don't know. Like, I guess it's. I like I was on it, but I didn't know I was on it. You know, and yeah, that's how it is. But you know, when I got sober, that was really, because like I had went to rehab for the first time, like an inpatient rehab program in 2015, and but I didn't go for me. I went because like I had a feeling my mom was about to kick me out, and like my girlfriend at the time was like super anti-drug, and I'd been hiding it from her for years. And so I was like, okay, like I'll just go to rehab, and then like I'm gonna just fix all these problems, you know. And I was in for 45 days, and I got out, and like inside of a week I was using again, and then I got kicked out. Like I manifested this, like I already knew it was gonna happen, so I made it happen, you know. And then that's when I moved to Illinois, and I was like, I'm gonna get a fresh start. My dad was like living out here at the time, so when I got kicked out of here, I came home at like 5 o'clock in the morning after being out all night up to no good, you know. And I woke up. I'd been sleeping for like 2 hours, and I woke up. My mom was like throwing my stuff out the front door, and she was like, "Don't come near me. Don't talk to me. Get out of my house. I don't want to hear it." Like literally, like I tried to like talk to her, and she was like, "Don't touch me. Don't come near me. Get out of my house." And I was like, "Fuck, what am I gonna do?" You know?
Yeah.
I call my dad. I haven't talked to him in like 8 months, and he's sleeping on a friend's couch over in La Mesa. So I like packed up a backpack and I walked from here to like 70th and Alcone Boulevard, and ended up staying on the other couch in the living room. So my dad and I are like both bums on the couch, you know. And he was like, "I'm gonna go back to Illinois if you want to come." And I was like, "Cool, like let me just like run away, you know, and like start fresh or whatever." And like I was out there maybe like 2 weeks, found a coke dealer like back, you know, and I was out there for 5 months, just straight downhill. And I called my mom, like bawling on the phone. I was like, "Please let me come home. Like, you can give me random drug tests, like whatever, whatever I need to do for you to let me come back, like I'll do it." And so I came back April 2016, and 6 weeks later, I got a DUI for driving under the influence of a controlled substance. And then like all of 2016 was a wreck. And then 2017, I went to rehab again. And like, that was like the moment where I was like, okay, this is like, I see how easy it is to fall back into that. Let me go the other way. And so I guess like since then has really been my journey of like self-discovery and like trying to figure out like what life is about. But I didn't really like start diving deep into like actually putting effort into healing and growing until maybe like mid 2019. But bringing this like back to my original train of thought, where in this process did your daughter come along? Like, how, for anyone that doesn't know, like literally, like I was talking to a friend of mine. I don't know if you remember Jordan Craig. She like, I think she dated Max for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Like that name sounds familiar. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I can put a face to
Yeah.
that name. Yeah.
So like, I was talking to her like recently, and she was like, Brandon Turner has the most adorable child on the entire planet.
She's not lying. She's not lying.
She's not lying. You know, so like, how did, like, tell me about like how that came about. Like, how did she come to this world? Like,
uh, so I guess I should start by saying like it wasn't my daughter was not planned, neither was I. As most things that are like the greatest things in life aren't. But damn, honestly, it just happened. And I mean that as like I started working at the Cheesecake Factory in Escondido. And this is 2000, either 13, 14, I don't know when I started working there, but, and at my orientation, I sat across diagonal from her mom, Brenna, which is her mom, and I'd never met her before, and like, just felt it, you know what I mean? I was like, damn, like, I just feel something, I don't know what it is. And so we worked together for like 2 months, and then we started dating. And I don't know what it was. It was probably just me pushing people away like I always did. But I broke up with her, and then a week later she found out she was pregnant. And so we'd only known each other for like maybe like less than 3 months. And yeah, it was a very word to use. It was not the happiest pregnancy experience in terms of like, you know what I mean, her being pregnant, and I was still young and not showing up for myself in many ways. And it's funny that someone just walked in. It's funny that when you said like you like were just kind of learning as you go, and I said same, like even when I think about it now, like yeah, I started this path of like observing myself and analyzing myself, introspection, like when I said when the music thing changed, but like I've gone through so many like cycles where I'll be doing that, and then like I'll lose myself to myself, and then like I'll come out of it and then like see what's happened and see what I've done and see, you know what I mean, how things have transpired, and so it's like it's been a constant. It's like I'll start working on myself a little bit, and then like what I realized that happened is I would work on myself, and then I would get egoic about it, and then I would be comfortable with where I was at because I'd seen myself grow and like felt the changes in the way treated people me and stuff, and like, and then over time realized that like it was my ego, like, and it was like I wasn't continuing to do the work. Like I would like, oh, I let go of something, like I'm good. And right. It's like, no, like it's, there's nothing to do, like just be, but at the same time, like the work is never done. You know what I mean? Like you can always learn something, you can always unlearn something, you can always grow in some way, you know what I mean? And so bringing that full circle, a reason I'm saying that is because I think music has always been like a huge form of shadow work for me, and just like my higher self, what I used to think this all the time. I used to write verses, it would be like 3 a.m, and then I'd read the next day and be like, what the fuck? Like I know I wrote it and I remember writing it, but like I was like out of it, and like it's I knew in that moment, I'm like, this is literally my higher self speaking to me now. Like, and so that's how a lot of my music has come out. And
it's all right.
But I feel like it's now that I really think about it, like, so the path of like going within and healing myself and trying to take my power back and step into my best life, you know what I mean? Has been a constant like roller coaster for me. And I've like felt it really high and then like will go really low, and you know what I mean? It's just been really high and really low. And for a while I was with those highs and lows, and then slowly over time I like became more neutral as they happened. So like I attached a little less to the positive things, a little less to the negative things. And I feel like my genuine work started like in 2020, honestly. Like before that too, like, but not to the extent I think it has taken shape in the past year. On my birthday of 2020, March 12th, I was about to open up for the Far Side at the Music Box 2 hours, and this is going to be like my biggest show to date, because it was like, it was my birthday, it was just me and the Far Side. I think maybe there was one other person performing too, but like I had sold like tons of tickets, like, you know what I mean? It was like a sold out thing, and it was like, okay, like this is a huge moment for me. And 2 hours before the show started, that's when like all the businesses closed down for like COVID and shit. And so it's funny because at the time I was in a toxic relationship, and I was drinking all the time. I was not in a good place at all. Like I wasn't happy with my life, and I wasn't showing it. I've always been someone, I think because of the fact that I'm like an artist, it's like I've tried to just be strong, like always seem like nothing phases me, and you know what I mean? And it's like, it was like it was like the universe giving me one of the greatest opportunities I've ever been gifted, you know what I mean? And so basically the show didn't happen. And then like both of my jobs, I was serving at 2 different restaurants while I was managing and serving at 2 different restaurants, working doubles, like, and just not happy with my life, and just not doing what I know I should be doing. You know what I mean? And so my job's closed. I basically got kicked out of the place I was living with this person that I was in a toxic relationship with. A month later, my daughter moved to Idaho with her mom and her mom's new partner, and they also have a child who is Lyric's sister. And so a lot of shit happened like in a short period of time, and basically like getting kicked out of that place I was living. The only place I had to go at that time without having any jobs or anything was to sleep on my mom's couch. And so I was gifted this gifted and like forced in a way to like sit with myself, like for real, because my daughter moved, which was, you know what I mean? I can't even describe the words of how that feels. You know what I mean? Just extremely painful, and it was all of those things, and then just basically having during the whole day, like my mom would go to work from 7 to 4, and it's like I had that whole block of time to sit with myself and to do music. And that's like the first time I did shadow work. I was like, I forget who told me about it or who said what about it, but I looked it up. I did a meditation, and that's where it all began. And what I mean is like began on the level of the way things are happening now. Like I said, it's always been like a roller coaster, and like it still is in some ways, but that's when I like, okay, I have shit I need to heal. What is it? Like, it's time to do that. Like, you know what I mean? It was just, that opportunity was gifted to me. And I feel like since then, like now it's been a much more, I've been much more aware of where I put my energy, where I put my time, what I allow into my space, you know what I mean? I guess the best way to describe it is it's when the work really, really started.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but where the results have been starting to show, and we're showing like quickly. And the more things I chose to acknowledge and face and heal from, the more blessings were flooding into my life. And and a lot of music came from that, and I just started seeing myself evolve in ways that I always knew that I could, but I just hadn't done yet. And just realized a lot of layers of myself that I was holding on to that weren't me to begin with. You know what I mean?
That's I would just want to pause there, and I'm gonna just say back what you just said for anyone that may not have caught it, because it's very important. You said that you had been shedding layers of yourself that weren't even you to begin with. And that's a massive realization to come to, because, you know, we are who we are, but we're also a product of our environment and the people in our lives. And, and, you know, we adopt beliefs and personas based on what we think we should be, or what other people think we should be. And it's not us, you know, it's just a culmination of outside influences, conditioning and belief systems. And you know, being able to separate yourself from, like, to pull those layers off and be like, that's not even me. Like, it was like attached to me, but it's not me. And when you can relieve yourself of that burden, I've experienced it in a very mild form, and even that was like massively profound for me. So I just wanted to, you know, make sure that anybody listening, like, I didn't want that to go over anyone's head, because it's so important.
Yeah, and to branch off of that too, an experience I had right around like the ending of last year, like kind of around Thanksgiving time. I had like a dark night of the soul, but like on a crazy level. Like, I've had different ones before, and like, oh, what do I do with my life, and like, what's going on, and like, you know what I mean, just in different ways. But this one was like, I know that at least in my experience, like, depression and different feelings that I've had throughout my life are temporary. Excuse me. And something I realized was just towards the end of last year, like, I had a few different experiences and realized I was having this like dark night of the soul, and like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, do I even want to do this? Like, do I, like, you know what I mean? Like, what is going on? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And it actually stemmed from my uncle showed up at my house randomly, and this never happens, like, never. And this was, I think, the day before Thanksgiving, and he showed up to my house to tell me in a roundabout way, and we've talked about it since, so not that it's like a negative thing, but to basically ask me in a roundabout way to not be myself at Thanksgiving. Like, don't talk about these things or these things, because I don't want to get so-and-so upset, and we don't want these people to get upset about, because we all have very different beliefs in my family, even just about the things going on in the world right now. And so it was him asking me, like, it's crazy because in the moment he didn't even realize his presence and him being there in that moment was a whole different sign for me in the moment. But then when I thought about it later and realized what he was actually doing, like, it kind of bothered me, you know what I mean? And so I went to Thanksgiving, and I didn't say a lot of things in different moments that I speak my truth a lot, like, especially when it comes to like my family and people I care about, because I feel like if you don't speak your truth, you take away the opportunity of growth from you and the person you're speaking your truth to. and it's not in your control whether someone takes what you say personally or not. You know what I mean? And so I went to Thanksgiving and was miserable. Like miserable.
Like
and I was like, what?
Yourself in a way?
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And I left, and I told myself, I was like, I will never, ever censor myself for anyone ever again, because that's what it makes me feel like. And it's like, I'm not meant to do that. And so what came from all that was this realization that, like, holy shit, like, and it's, Jim Carrey said something similar to this, like, I realized, like, I know that, like, turn is part of me, you know what I mean? It's how I express myself and how I, you know what I mean? In that way, like, as an artist. And I've always known, like, in a way, like, turn is, like, a character that I choose to play. And for the first time in my life, I was like, oh shit, like, so is Brandon. And so then I was like, I think the depression, like the dark night, that's when it really started, because it was like, I don't always want to show up. I feel like for my family, I've always tried to show up as, like, strong, happy, all these things. And it's like, the reality is, like, I have had my family is very dysfunctional in a lot of ways. And my family doesn't talk about the stuff we need to talk about. A lot of people don't heal. We don't put ourselves in those vulnerable moments with each other because of how it makes people feel. And so, like, there's resistance to it. And so my family doesn't do it. So, I realized, like, fuck, I don't always want to show up as, everyone was asking me what was wrong with me and, like, am I okay? And I'm like, I'm fucking fine, but I don't always want to show up as the fucking happy ass version of me that tries to make everyone else happy, because sometimes I'm not happy and I don't want to have to fake it. And just because I'm not faking it, it's like, people thinking that something's wrong with me, like, on a deeper level than just, like, oh, are you okay? Like, hey, I'm worried about you. Like, I was going to do something to myself or something like that. And the quote that Jim Carrey said is, like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, Brandon's a great character and I'm grateful to play the part, but even that is not me. Like, that is how I show up in this physical realm, but me at my true nature is the boundless, timeless, limitless, eternal energy that all things are created of. And it was just like a massive ego death for me. Like, I don't have to do shit. I put the weight of the world on my shoulders, telling myself, like, I have to save the fucking world. I have all these things that I know that are happening in the world. Like, I have to do this. It's like, I'm meant for this. And then and it was like overwhelming pressure that I put on my shoulders. You know what I mean? And that experience, I finally was able to, like, let that go and take that off my shoulders and put down the weight that was not mine to carry. Because I realized, like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I can just be and be. And then a little more time came, and then it was like, oh, I want to. And it's like, then it's like, oh, cool, no more strings attached. Now I'm going to do it because I want to and not because I feel like I have to. And I'm, like, forcing myself to. And that was, like, one of the biggest realizations I've had in a long time. And just empowered me more to do what I want to do in life. I don't have to do shit, but I want to.
Man, this is I'm really glad the conversation went in that direction, because this is something that I'm going through, like, right now at this exact moment in my life. This is, like, something that I'm navigating through. Like, what you went through is, like, I don't, like, there's no way to tell if, like, whatever realization I come to will be the same as the one you came to, but this, like, concept of, like, the dark night of the soul, of, like, what am I even doing with my life, like, that's how I feel right now. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah,
Essentially, you know, like I have no clue what I'm doing, or like, do I need to do this, or do I need to do that, or like what is going on in my life right now? Like I have no fucking clue, and I gotta like remind myself that like there's nothing wrong with that, like that it is. It's just where I'm at right now, and it's not good or bad. It's just where I'm at, and so it was cool to like hear, you know, your experience moving through that, because I've been really like stressing about it. Like on a personal level, I'm in my own life. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Trust me, I those thoughts still come to me now, and I still think things like that sometimes. But then I do what you probably do, is continue to trust my intuition and know that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be as of right now, and choose to be grateful for that. And that's the most efficient way to manifest what you actually want in life, and live your dreams. And it's I'm sure it's funny, because when you think about it, no one really knows what the fuck's going on. No one really knows what they're doing. Like we all say we do, and we all get to like share our experiences after the fact. But in the moment, do you really know? Did you really know right before that this was the reason you're gonna do it? No, but like everything happens for a reason. We don't always know why it happens, but after time has passed, after whatever event or thing happens, we're able to see it, how the dots connect later on, and how it, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not, these events in our life are not separate. It's all one. It's all, the only moment is now. And it's like, all of the things in your life that have happened, no matter what it is, no matter how painful it is, no matter how joyous or euphoric it is, it was meant to happen to bring you to where you are right now. And that's something that like I firmly believe, that everything happens for a reason. And many different experiences in my life have shown me that. And even just the experience of like not being with my daughter for this past year, it's something that I knew at some point in my life I would have to face, being away from my children, by pursuing a path that I want to, and making it to the platform that I know I'm capable of making it to, and like going on tour and doing things that you know what I mean? You're not gonna be able to take your kid to all these things and be with them like that. And so it's that sacrifice is something that I knew I would have to make at some point in my life. I didn't realize it would be like a year later or 2 years later. But and just to give a little background information on that, like, it's not like I up and moved or anything. Basically, the mother, Lyric's mom, my daughter's mom, and her new partner, she was pregnant at the time, their whole family had plans to move out of state to get land and to start learning how to live off the land, and be less reliant on the government, for many reasons, I'm sure, you know. And so it was kind of a moment, like, because I've lived with my daughter my whole life, like, you know what I mean, at least half the time, or whenever me and her mom lived together, it was like all the time. And it was a moment of like, because I could have been like, no, I'm not okay with this. Like, no, you can't take my daughter to Idaho. But it was like a huge moment in my life, because at first I was like, no, like, cool. If I come with, sure, but like, no, like, you can't just take my daughter. And then the more I sat with it, I'm like, why am I saying that? And it's like, fuck, you know what I mean? It was because of me. I wasn't in that point. I hadn't seen the full picture yet, and I was saying it for me, because I didn't want to deal with the pain of not being with my daughter and thinking about the pain that she would feel. But then the more I thought about it, it's like, okay, I'm sleeping on my mom's couch at this moment. I don't have jobs. My car got repossessed. I have very little other than a massive amount of love to give, in terms of like the things she needs at that moment. And do I really want to be someone who tells this family not to go live their best life? Like, and in the same way, would I ever let someone tell me not to go live my best life? No. So like, it was just a moment where I realized like this is a parenting moment where I have to make a sacrifice that is going to hurt, but it is what is best for my daughter. Like, I know that learning how to live off the land, learning how to garden, learning how to do a lot of things that we don't learn in the education system that we have now is very important in a lot of different ways. And it was just like, you know what I mean? I have to swallow whatever I don't want to happen and accept that like this is what is actually best for my daughter. And so they moved. And what I was gonna say was, even that experience, like at first, like for the first month, like I was just miserable. Like I cried myself to sleep days, multiple days in a row for weeks. And like the only like, I can't even describe that feeling. You know what I mean? Like just wanting to hold your child and you can't. And you know what I mean? You're so used to doing it every day and like and like even at first I'm like, what the fuck is this happening? Like, you know what I mean? What I didn't understand. Like I knew at some point I probably would, but I just didn't understand like, why is this happening to me? Like why do I have to go through this? And like as things have just come full circle and like that 8 hours a day that I was, like I said, like given the opportunity, but in a way like forced to work on myself and like look at myself and the things in life that I want to change and that I want to heal from and like go over and release. It was like the opportunity to do it. And it was not that I was thinking that once I started, but I kind of just started doing things and playing the piano every day in the morning and went from like I said earlier, being able to do things that I've known that someday I'll be able to do, like sing like a grown-ass man rather than like just do little melodies here and there, like project my voice and be rap and like sing and play the piano at the same time, and like basically start evolving as stepping into me, like stepping into who I'm meant to be. And you know what I mean? And just even like I went to visit her 2 months after she had moved, and like I surprised her, told her I was sending her a gift, and like it was this big box, and like me and her mom and Daniel, who is her bonus dad, we like, they helped me do this thing where I surprised her, and like she thought it was just a gift and it was really me into the box. And like it was just a small example of like seeing things come full circle. Like that was the best moment of my entire life. You know what I mean? And that wouldn't have happened had she not gone. You know what I mean? She wouldn't have learned tons of the things she's learned about life and about like surviving and all these things if she hadn't gone. That evolution in me as an artist, it would have never happened. The shadow work and all the healing that happened, like, yeah, it may have happened, but like, I don't know. If I would have had my daughter with me every day, it would have been a whole different, you know what I mean? And so now, just as more time has gone, this is like right about a year that she's been gone, and it's like, I've just, it's hard not to find gratitude, you know what I mean? It's, just so you know, whenever I cry, I end up laughing at the end. if you've been wondering, like, why are you smiling? Just seeing a lot of things come full circle, you know what I mean? And then like, oh shit, like, yeah, that is why it had to happen in different ways. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like the concrete one detail that is why, but there's multiple things in many different ways. And so I've tried my best to just find gratitude, you know what I mean, for it. And if anything, it's made me it's awakened me to a lot of things in my daughter's life that now I can see, now that I'm not there all the time in certain ways, and also has strengthened our bond even more. Like, distance makes the heart grow fonder, you know what I mean? Like, it really is, like, it's a very powerful statement. And not that I didn't know, but like, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And not that she's gone, but you know what I mean, temporarily. It's like, damn, like, a moment of just like gratitude for life, for even being a father, and like having got to experience what I've got to experience already, which was live with my daughter for 5, you know what I mean? Not that I'm not gonna live with her again. That's all coming full circle as well. But yeah. I'll lose my train of thought.
That's a lot. That was a lot. I mean, I'm still not a parent, so I have no idea. Like, I feel like I can empathize a little bit just from, like, you know, feeling the emotions coming off at you. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that's like. Yeah. But you know, I remember, like, last year, like, watching the video that you posted on Instagram, like, her reaction when you came out of that box. And you know, I see, you know, my best friend Cody has a, you know, 5-year-old daughter, and I see the way that he interacts with her, and it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. I just see it from the outside. And it's the way you described it, of like, it's like a balance between like excruciating pain and unbelievable joy. And somewhere in that spectrum is you, and being able to sort through that and to come out on the other end stronger and more self-aware and more empowered as an individual is an amazing thing. And I have an immense amount of respect for you for, you know, going through this process and not falling victim to the victim mentality of, you know, like, woe is me. Well, like, okay, maybe for a little bit, but like, what can you do to improve this situation in a way that's best for you and for your daughter? And it seems like you're doing that. And I mean, from the outside looking in, like, I couldn't imagine a more optimal way to go about, you know, understanding the situation and growing from it. And I just...
Thank you, I appreciate that. I think that I actually think a lot of people, like, in my life, probably, like, they only get to see what I post on social media. Like, even some of my family, like, I'm not that close. I'm close with my family, but like, not to where I'm like always calling them and like telling them about things that are going on. You know what I mean? Like, we're close, but not that close. And I feel like a lot of people probably look at my situation because they don't understand, they don't know the full story, and they're just making assumptions and whatever, you know what I mean, in their perspective. I guess I've tried not to dwell too much on the pain and those feelings. I actually cried for like over an hour today before I even came here. I posted, like, one of the first times I posted pictures of me and Lyric, because I just went and visited her. I just got back from visiting her like a week ago. And our goodbye, her grandma like took pictures of us and we didn't know she was taking them, and like it was like the first moment of like, okay, like I'm always sharing these positive, like heartfelt, like adventure, we're having so much fun, but like here's what you guys don't see, you know what I mean? And I choose not to talk, like I talk about it and I share it, but I choose not to make that the I choose to talk about the positive things more and how I'm learning from it and stuff, because it's like whatever you're speaking about, like you're speaking into existence, and the more I know that this is temporary, so the more that I choose to dwell on those like low vibrations and the feelings that are of pain and stuff, the more that I'm gonna feel them, and that's one of the beautiful things that I've learned recently, like in the past year, is to find the gratitude in those, you know what I mean, even the hardest parts of life. And like I said, like this whole experience has helped me even just be grateful that I have been a father, and I am, but like that I've even been gifted the memories and the experiences that I've already had with my daughter. And you know what I mean, the amount of gratitude for that, once you like feel like you're, oh, I don't get to be with my daughter all the time now, when you think back on those things, it's like, wow, like I'm fucking lucky, you know what I mean? And yeah, what energy we vibrate at is the energy that comes back to us from the universe, the energy that we attract. So the more I sit in sadness, the more sadness I'm going to attract. The more I, you know what I mean, sit in gratitude for being, for my daughter, and for being around her, for all the experiences I've been around her in, and you know what I mean, just my time with her, I'm going to attract that. I'm going to attract more of that.
Yeah.
And so on my journey, I want to be as transparent as possible, to show people like it's not just all the smiles, and you know what I mean, that there is these things, that these low frequency vibrations that suck sometimes, but if we choose to focus on the gratitude and focus on the good parts of whatever is happening in our life, that's what we're, you know what I mean, we're welcoming more of.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's, as far as this concept of like manifestation, I think people have this idea of manifestation of like, I'm gonna get this big house, I'm gonna live by the beach and get, you know, like get these things, I'm going to attract these things to me. But we are manifesting 24/7.
Yes.
With our thoughts and our actions and our beliefs, and it's a constant, ongoing, never-ending process. And so while it is important to feel your feelings, you know, like let them come up, feel them, but if you focus on them, that's what you're going to attract. And so, you know, I think it was beautiful the way that you said that, you know, you can feel this pain and you can feel the hurt, but also devote your energy towards the gratitude side and the joyous side, and to recognize that it's temporary and to know that there's more coming your way. That's where the power comes from.
Yep.
Because you have the choice what you want to focus on. You could choose to dwell in the pain and the sorrow, and you're right, like you will bring in more of that, but it's up to you what direction you go. Yeah. And so it's cool that you've found a way to balance that, to like understand that, like, okay, I'm going to feel these things, but I'm also going to put the majority of my energy into the gratitude aspect, because that's where the manifestation will come into play. Because you know what you have, you know what you're meant for, and you believe that it's coming.
Yeah, manifestation has no bias. Like,
right,
if you thinking negative things all the time, that's why when you wake up, well, when people wake up sometimes and they feel like they're having a shitty day already, and or you know what I mean, and then they say something like, God, why can't anything go right for me today? You are creating that more and more. Right. And it's like, anytime I find myself speaking negative things like that, it's like, okay, hold up. Like, let me take a breath and remember that words have power. Words carry energy, and thoughts become things. And so it's like, think about all the things you want in life. Think about, you know what I mean? Think about living your best life. Feel it, imagine it, envision it. Like, close your eyes and go there. And it's like, yeah, you can do the same thing with negative things, and you will see firsthand that you welcome that into your life, whether it's in your perception negative or positive. But yeah, there's definitely no bias in manifestation.
Yeah, none. So I feel like we've been, spending all this time like, who are you, and like, what are the things you've been through? But like, what are your plans for the future? Like, what do you, without divulging, if you have like some things in the works that you're not, ready to share with the world, but like, what's your what direction are you headed?
Inwards. I mean, I know that I still, I accept and acknowledge and love myself where I'm at now. And I know that I have everything that I need already within me. So I think when I think about like, what's coming, like, what are my plans? Like, I make plans, but at the same time I go with the flow, like, more so than anything, because especially me, I follow my intuition in each moment. And so, if something doesn't feel right, or I'm not doing it, or if it does, I'm going to, you know what I mean? And so for me, like, I have goals. I have like certain things I've written down that it's like just manifesting, you know what I mean? All the pages and pages of like goals in my life that at some point, but I try to leave out certain details, because the more detailed of how to get there, it's like, I guess in my perspective, it's taking energy away from like knowing that you already have it. What's meant for you is already yours, and there's no need to force anything. And the more that we force things, the more that we push them away. But I guess like, I guess I should start with just saying that, like, to be able to live with my, live with my daughter, and have that like secure foundation is one of obviously my most important goals and priorities. But in terms of just life, like, shit, I'm going to be one of the greatest artists of all time, and that doesn't mean that anybody else isn't the greatest artist of all time, but I'm going to be the greatest version of me that I can possibly be. And I can't even say I've been given a gift, like I have, but I also know that I worked my ass off to get to this place where I'm at, and there's not anything on this planet or in any other universe that is going to stop me from living my dreams and living my full potential and living my best life. And if someday I realize that's not music, then I won't do that. You know what I mean? But as of now, like, music is my medicine, and it's how I channel my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences, my emotions, my traumas. And I realized recently, I'm like, wow, it's also how I like channel my ego in a healthy way too, because like some songs are like, you know what I mean? There's ego for sure.
Right.
I'm very aware of that. But I'd much rather put it in a song and release it that way for me than like be that all the time. You know what I mean? So I there's a lot of things I want to do. when I realized that I wanted to do music, like a decade ago, 2011, I at that time also realized that like something I will do in this lifetime is help bring free energy to the world, whether that be 0 point energy or basically just like hand in hand with Nikola Tesla. I'm not saying that I am Nikola Tesla, but like I want to, in whatever way that I can help contribute to eliminating the illusion of scarcity in the world. I'm nothing but honored and grateful to be of the highest service. You know what I mean? And I know that like my life, like it is, but like my life isn't even mine. Like it's not about me. It's about like, what am I leaving behind? Like, what am I, you know what I mean? What legacy am I leaving behind? Like how am I leaving this planet better than when I came onto it for the people after me, and for the animals, and for Mother Earth itself, and for nature, and for, you know what I mean, for all that is. I mean, there's a lot of plans. I'm like, I have to get my notebook out and start looking, but it's just, you know what I mean. I also, you know, I think you know Fran Meredith, one of my best friends. He went to Patrick Henry.
It sounds super familiar.
He has dreads. I'm sure if I showed you a picture, you'd be
Yeah,
familiar. But
it's
so
like the name is sticking.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just can't picture it for some reason.
So something we've been doing recently, that we actually have an event this Sunday. It's called Just Breathe and Reconnect. So it's a gathering where like there's different things each time. So like there's qigong, different facilitators come and will facilitate different activities at the events. And it's just kind of giving people opportunity to go within in different ways with other people, and everyone connect to each other and to the earth, and you know what I mean. That's something that I will continue to do, and I've already seen it. Like it'll be where it's like huge ones. Like, you know what I mean. Like I've thrown events before and thrown little mini like festivals in San Diego, but like someday I'm gonna throw like huge ass festivals and music and art and you know what I mean, giving people that space to feel safe to go within and be vulnerable with other people, and so we all can learn and unlearn. So that's definitely something that's like on the plan list.
Yeah. That event looked really cool. I'm bummed I'm not going to be here, because when you were like, I don't know if you're still going to be here on Sunday, but if you are, you should come through. And I was like,
I know, you would love it. Obviously there'll be more. Yeah, this one I'm doing. So I've performed at almost all of them before, just kind of like a couple songs. But this time, like I'm actually facilitating an experience, and so I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone with this one, and I'm doing a bunch of things I've never done, and I'm super excited just because it's just different, and it's like I feel like I've almost had this opportunity before, and I haven't been like, okay, I'm ready, like let's do it. And this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then every day just put a little bit of work in, and it's like it's coming full circle, and I'm just excited.
That's awesome.
One of the my good friend, his name is Joey Haas. He's a certified Wim Hof breathwork instructor, and he also like facilitates ice baths and just does like his whole, you know what I mean, he has a whole business. They do an online almost like a, what do you call it, like a retreat, almost like an online retreat. So I just recently went to Sedona a couple months ago and went on a men's retreat. Fran was one of the people there, and that's where I met Joey, and just that whole experience too was one of the most profound, uplifting, liberating experiences I've ever had. Like the whole weekend and going there and being with this group of 20 men who are all literally there because they are like tired of their own shit, and they're like, I want to step into my power. I want to find clarity in my life. I want to be the best version of me. Whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever each person's intention was for going there, but everyone was there with like, it wasn't like some cheap thing. It was like, all right, we're paying $1,000 and we're really doing this shit. And so, like we hiked barefoot up to like up mountains in Sedona to go to like energy vortexes, and like we're all at the top, like doing qigong, like and like the energy was just crazy. Like it was just unreal, you know what I mean? Because it was like the intention that was there, you could just feel it, and like everyone there was there and being vulnerable with each other, and we were all, it was crazy. Like it was, yeah, just an unreal experience. And Joey was just one of like the main instructors at the event, at the retreat in Sedona. We did the ice baths and everything, and he like led some different meditations and the Wim Hof breath work. So I'm excited for him to come out to this one, because he's not usually part of the event. This is like the first time he's coming out to do his thing, and then I'm kind of doing my thing. So yeah, I'm excited. Looking forward to that.
That sounds like an incredible event. Like whatever you're doing, like keep doing that. Like as far as these events, because I feel like, and maybe it's because I'm not in that space currently, but like I feel like if there were more events like that, like bringing people together and understanding and bringing awareness and really like diving deep inward, like the world would just be a better place.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's really cool that you're facilitating this and you know, bringing these people together, and like you just happened to meet this guy at one retreat, and like now he's coming to this one, and like you know, all
natural,
these different
everyone's been connecting naturally too.
Right.
It's been crazy. Like, and the more, like this past year, kind of how I said, like that's kind of when I really dove into doing like going inward. The more that I've done that, the more that people are just showing up in my life that are like, this is like my soul tribe for real. Like this, like, you know what I mean? Like just, and so naturally, effortlessly, and just like in the most divine timing. And it's like, okay, like, let's just keep going. Like what's happening? But like, yo, this is like, it's just, it's crazy. Like to see the universe changing as you change. Like, you know what I mean? The more that we, you know what I mean? The more that we're changing within ourselves, the more that our surroundings are changing. And yeah, it's just been crazy to see, like in general.
Yeah. I'm excited for you, man. Like I feel what like some of what you feel, and I'm like,
I feel a lot of momentum happening just in a lot of ways, like in my life in general. And yeah, it's honestly the only person that's ever been in my way is me. It's like, we just got to get out of our own way and be receptive and open to the miracles and limitless abundance that we are all surrounded in at all times. But also, like, it's not, I can understand why it's not easy, and I've experienced it not being easy at different times, because the world has been conditioned to a way where it's like, almost everything is disturbing the natural frequency, like food, water, electronics, like all these different things are kind of pushing people in the opposite direction. And yeah, the more I go within, the more it's even more obvious that those things are happening. You know what I mean? And that's part of my motivation for music and for sharing the things that I know, because if Kid Cudi didn't exist, I would have never started making the music. I would have never accepted myself and started. If Kid Cudi never made music and like talked about his feelings, it would have never, like, people wouldn't have even, I mean, maybe someone else would. I'm sure a ton of artists have done it, but for me, in my experience, Kid Cudi was like the artist that like, oh, like you can talk about your feelings in music and like it can sound this fucking dope and, you know what I mean, be this meaningful. And like just him doing that, him showing up as himself has helped me in more ways than I can even describe. You know what I mean? Because it like gave me the green light to feel my feelings and to express them in my music. And I know that the more that we try to get people to believe what we want or think what we want, the more we push them away from that. And the more we just stand in our truth, stand in our power, and be that light, the more that naturally people see that and then are inspired to do it themselves. You know what I mean? But yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Shout out to
man. So this is a unique podcast for me because, well, for you, it's your first podcast, it's unique for this podcast, for the Comeback Journey, because we're setting up a little live music performance. And
yes,
so,
yes, sir.
Before we transition to that, is there anything that you want to say? Is there anything that we didn't touch on? Is there any message you wanna get out?
I'm sure there is, but honestly, I'm sure it'll come out in the songs, because that's where I feel like I can utilize my words and emotions the best. But I guess I'll just say that to anyone listening to this, no matter where you're at in life, no matter what you're going through, you're exactly where you're meant to be, and the divine is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. And everything you need is already within you. Everything is as it should be. Everything happens for a reason. And you are powerful beyond measure. And if you haven't already, this is your sign from the universe to get out of your own way.
Beautiful.
And I love you.
Beautiful.
I truly do. I love every single person listening to this.
So where can people find you?
You can just hit my website, www.bturn.com. Don't forget the hyphen after the B. Or you could find me on Instagram or TikTok at BTURNNN. So that's just bturn with 3 N's. Or you could find my music on any major platform: Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, whatever you listen to, YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever the case may be, just by searching B-Turn with the hyphen.
B-T-U-R-N.
Yeah, so
okay.
B-T-U-R-N. And yeah, you might also just randomly hear me performing on the street corner, at the beach, or downtown somewhere.
Let's go.
I guess I'll say that, like, that's been a huge just a huge part of my journey, is when I decided to start street performing. I guess this is just advice for any artist who may be listening. Just believe in yourself, and just, like, who gives a fuck what other people think? I know that's, like, easy to say, and even myself sometimes, I let certain things get to me temporarily, and then I'm like, oh, okay, no, like, I know, in my heart, I know. But yeah, I think just starting to street perform just changed my life in so many ways, because it's when I, like, started just being more comfortable all the time around tons of people. And I guess I should say this, an experience that I didn't really talk about, that kind of has to do with ego, is I started street performing, and I was having experiences. Basically, I've done things, I've manifested things instantaneously in my life that have been, like, publicized in certain ways. Like, I went to the Boogie concert at the Music Box, and, like, put online right before, like, I'm about to go manifest performing on stage with Boogie. And then I went to the show, like, multiple hours early, and I set up my street performing stuff, and I sang until he came out of the bus. And then he came out of the bus and, like, asked me to come perform with him on stage. So I did. And then, like, less than a month later, me and my daughter did the same thing with one of our favorite artists, Sunreal. I asked her if she wanted to meet him and perform with him, and so we went to the show like 4 hours early, set up the little sign, set up the busking equipment, and within like 10 minutes he came outside, sang with us on the corner, and then invited us into the VIP and like brought her on stage. And like it's just both of those moments I had, especially the boogie one, and I'll never forget it because I was in my living room and I almost didn't go. I saw on his Instagram story that he was on his bus, inside the bus, right outside the music box, posting like someone buying a ticket. So that's when I was like, what if I just go set up and like, you know what I mean, get his attention somehow to do this. And then all of these doubts started flooding in, like, oh, what if you go and the bus was already gone and you waste time because you're going to the concert later, so you have to like go take 4 Ubers instead of 2. And like literally just my mind started creating all these doubts and like reasons and limitations. And I almost, and I didn't feel good that day. And I almost was like, fuck it, I'm just not gonna go. And I literally just had a moment where I was like, I told that voice that was saying all these doubts to just shut up. I was just like, no, just go. Because what if you don't go and it would have happened? And so I literally just grabbed myself and I left, and that happened. And it's like, I'll never forget that, because it's like that voice in your head telling you can't do something is not you. It's not, you know what I mean? It's maybe multiple things. It could be conditioning, it could be past experiences, traumas, whatever the case may be. Whatever your mind is telling you, your mind can be like one of the greatest tools, but if you don't have control over it, it's going to control you. And going off in a symphony this time too, but but yeah, I guess that was what I wanted to say. The busking thing just like really helped me evolve as an artist in a lot of ways. Oh, something I was going to touch on is, after those 2 experiences, people started treating me differently. Like I was famous, or like, you know what I mean? Like I felt the changes. I literally felt it. I saw it, and it was a trip. And then I'd be street performing downtown like every Friday and Saturday night from like 11 p.m. to like 3 a.m. And constant reflections. Like sometimes people would walk by and talk shit or whatever, but more of the time I would have people standing around and I could hear them. They weren't even talking to me, but I could hear them because I was 10 feet away. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people would say it to me, but basically would be comparing me to the best artist in the world. Like this dude's better than Logic. This dude's the next Eminem. This dude's better than Drake. Like literally all my favorite artists, I heard myself get compared to or say I was better than at some point during those experiences. And I think over time, I lost myself to my ego through that, because I was giving myself all the credit. But like I said earlier, like my life's not about me. Like I was taking all that like glory and love that was being given to me and feeling like I was better than people, and feeling like I could, like I was, you know what I mean? Like straight up, like I was better. And when I finally came out of that, I was like, damn, like it's crazy how powerful our ego can be when we don't realize it's our ego that's like the one making the decisions. And so that's a big part of shadow work, and why shadow work has helped me so much, because it's shown me my ego more, and instead of like, it's helped me become friends and integrate it rather than like trying to push it away, which only brings it in even more. Mm-hmm. And accepting myself as I am, and knowing that, you know what I mean, this is still just the beginning. Like, but yeah, so I think that'll cap it off.
That's a beautiful cap. That's a beautiful cap. Okay. All right. You're the man. Find him on Instagram, TikTok, the website, streaming platforms, all the goods. And if you haven't listened to his music yet, you should, because it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
I appreciate you.
All right. This will conclude like the little podcast, but for anyone that's listening or watching, like, don't leave yet, because my man's about to do a little live performance here for us, and I'm very excited. So thank you so much for being here and coming on this podcast. I'm honored. This is, you know, like you said, the first one, and this is I feel very honored and humbled to have you here, and I'm super excited for you and the life that you're living and all the things coming your way. So
thank you. I appreciate that. The feeling is mutual, and it was definitely an honor to be here to do this first podcast. I think that we'll definitely have to hit a part 2 someday.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Parts
a year down the road, a couple
too.
2. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I appreciate you, and welcome to the Comeback Journey.
Let's go.
What's up, y'all? My name is B Turn, and this is the Comeback Journey. This song's called Hold the Space.
Lucas.
Can you hold the space for me to just be me, without your judgments, without your speech? Just don't speak for a second, please. Will you hold the space for you to just be you? Without your judgment, that self-destruction, it's all on you. Praise to the Most High, yeah. Embracing these imperfections, my heart below fire, yeah. It's okay to come as you are around me. No, you won't be judged, you're a star grounding. Whoa. I got you and I want you to know that it's not you in that costume you own. And God brought you to the bottom to show you that you're always home. And I'm holding space for you to be yourself without judgment or shame. I pray that you'll do me the same, 'cause I'm not to blame. Can you hold the space for me to just be me, without your judgments, without your speech? Just don't speak for a second, please. Will you hold the space for you to just be you, without your judgment, that self-destruction, it's all on. Legacy is bigger than anything that I ever did, 'cause it was never about me. Your message, I surrender once, even when they doubt me, you put me down in my head, and I never let it get in me, let it go, what you letting in. You got everything you need right now, yeah, yeah. Holding space for me to be myself, yeah, yeah. So your judgments don't hold way around here. And it's love tell, don't know hate, drown fear. And it's alright, we'll be okay if we share love and we hold space. Put down the weights and get out of your way. You're a wave of vibrations. For hours I stood in the rain thinking about how I changed. Now I say, can you hold the space for me to just be me, without your judgments, without your speech? Just don't speak for a second, please. Will you hold the space for you to just be you, without your judgment, that self-destruction, it's all on you. It's all on you. Hey, it's all on you. It's all on you, you. So that song's called Hold the Space. I'm gonna jump right into the next one, 'cause I don't got that much time, but we gonna make it work. Speaking of work, this song's called Shadow Work. I'm about to go crazy. Shadow work, 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 shadow work. Lie within the shadows, yeah. Life's a fight within a battle. Between ourselves and how we handle, hey, childhood traumas as an adult that we never healed from. And let go, the cycle, reset slow, acknowledge the the darkness, the heartbreaks, the hardships. You have come so far, flying through the stars, shining in the dark. Shadow work, 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 shadow work. Light within the shadows, yeah. Life's so wild without a saddle. So get back up on your camel, and feel the horsepower you channel. Anything to feel now, and let go. The cycle, reject slow. Acknowledge what you've done and how far that you've run. You have come so far, flying through the stars, shining in the dark. Shadow work, 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 work. Work, 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 shadow. Got a little choked up on that one. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. We're gonna move right into the next one. This song is called I Release You. And this, if you guys listen to the whole podcast, we talked a little bit about my childhood in the beginning, and this is the song that came out of me when I finally allowed myself to feel the emotions that I carried with me my whole life from my childhood, that I never realized I was carrying until I finally let it go and released it. And this is also the song that I just uploaded for my NPR Tiny Desk contest. So you can find this live on YouTube as well. I've been trying to hide these feelings, and I don't know how long it's been, whoa, that I've been trying to hide these feelings, but I don't want to hold on to them no more, 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 no more. I've been trying to fight this anger, feeling like it's dangerous, and I might go crazy, yeah. Ain't nowhere to hide, been caged in me so long, I'm aching from that old stagnation, yeah. And I don't even know where to start, putting it all down, yeah. You broke my heart, I watched it fall out, yeah. Why did you leave me? Where did you go? Could you just not see me? Guess we'll never know, but I know that feeling. Recycle, regrow, and this is me dealing with that pain all on my own. I release you, I release you, I release you. release you, oh, I release you, I release you, oh. I've been trying to hide these feelings, and I don't know how long it's been, oh, that I've been trying to hide these feelings, but I don't want to hold on to them no more, 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 no more. I've been trying to fight this anger, feeling like it's dangerous, and I might go crazy, yeah. Ain't nowhere to hide, been caged in me so long, I'm aching from that old stagnation, yeah. And I don't even know where to start. Turn it all out, yeah. You stole my heart, tore it all out, yeah. Why did you leave me? Where did you go? Could you just not see me? Guess we'll never know, but I know that feeling reminded me so. And this is me healing with that pain all on my own. I release you, 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 oh, I release you, oh, I release you, I release you, I release you, oh, I release you, oh, I release you, I release you, oh. No sense in fighting this feeling. It happened to you, then it was for a reason, yeah. There is gratitude in healing when you take those demons and look underneath them, yeah. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Let it go, let it go. I release you, I release you, I release you, I release you. Oh. Fuck. I got one more song for you guys. Stay tuned. Damn, that one, a lot of these songs that I wrote on the piano, I'm only going to share one with you guys on the piano right now, but a lot of these songs I wrote, I can't sing and perform without tapping into those feelings. So it's hard for me not to get emotional. But everything happens for a reason. So here we go. And this last song is called Full Circle, just to bring everything full circle. Thank you guys so much for watching and for tuning into the Comeback Journey. My name is B-Turn. Shout out to my boy Nick. I appreciate you. Yeah. Divine creator, why do you favor me? Is it cause I'm grateful for everything that happens to me, even when it's painful? Lord knows it ain't been easy being awake young in a world that's still asleep. It's time to wake up. She gone, all gone. She promised so strong. Keep fighting, hold on. We are the whole. All is forgiven, I'll forget. Gratitude and some breath work for the cortex. Ride with my fellas, so try, we enormous. Climb with my brothers barefoot to the vortex. Out there, Sedona at the Red Rocks. I'm from the future, I'll be selling out the Red Rocks. I can feel the energy in every single head now. Telling me it's meant to be my destiny's what I bet on. How you gonna tell me what I can't be? You know how many people in my life told me to plan B. It's crazy, cause most of them are family. But I forgive you cause you made me who I am. See how things come full circle. I'm gonna start over. Oh God, bro. Yeah. Divine creator, why do you favor me? Is it cause I'm grateful for everything that happens to me, even when it's painful? Lord knows it ain't been easy being awake young in a world that's still asleep. It's time to wake up. She gone, all gone. She promised so strong. Keep fighting, hold on. We are the whole. All is forgiven, I'll forget. Gratitude and some breath work for the cortex. Ride with my fellas, so try, we enormous. Climb with my brothers barefoot to the vortex. Out there, Sedona at the Red Rocks. I'm from the future, I'll be selling out the Red Rocks. I can feel the energy in every single head now. Telling me it's meant to be my destiny's what I bet on. How you gonna tell me what I can't be? You know how many people in my life told me to plan B. It's crazy cause most of them are family. I can't believe you really made me who I am. See how things come full circle, come full circle, come full circle. See how things come full circle, come full circle, come full circle. Thank you for just always being you, yeah. For speaking up and standing in your truth, yeah. Even when nobody really believe in you, yeah. It's somewhere deeper, you know it's bigger than you, yeah. Look at what you've done. This calls for a realize. Congratulations, celebration. Oh, divine creator, why do you favor me? Is it cause I'm grateful for everything that happens to me, even when it's painful? Lord knows it ain't been easy being awake young in a world that's still asleep. It's time to wake up. Oh, it's time to wake up. You ain't got no limits since you make them. Get out of your way, you and your brain, dog. Enjoy the journey, cause there ain't no destination. And things are always changing. Nothing ever stays the same. It's just your life is rearranging in all the ways it's meant to. And you can learn from it, don't get looped in your cycles that tempt you and hurt the people that let you till you wake up. That's when you will finally see what you slept through. It's too late though, cause they left you. Goes on to my bedroom, now you see how things come full circle, come full circle, come full circle. See how things come full circle, come full circle, come full circle. My name is B-Turn. Thank you guys for holding this space for me to be all that I am. I wish you guys nothing but the absolute greatest life you could possibly live. Endless love.
This concludes another episode of the Comeback Journey podcast. I am incredibly passionate about delivering these messages to a much larger audience, but I can't do that without your help. If today's episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you shared it. Whether that's sending the episode to a friend who needs to hear it, or by taking a screenshot and letting me know what your favorite part was by tagging the Comeback Journey on your Instagram or Facebook story. Instagram is @_the comeback journey. Facebook is simply the Comeback Journey. I reply to each and every one of you who spreads the word and supports what this brand represents. Thank you, and I'll see you all next time.